say for anyone who's going to tune into this, I'm not having a good neuromuscular health day. So I look like crap. But join me to go down the rabbit hole of a retired parole officer and counselor's brain, someone who actually did supervise sex offenders and has witnessed, thousands of court trials. So I just want to kind of offer perspectives when more information comes out, because I am constantly telling people, wait for the whole picture. Get all the information. Don't be led by your emotions. And so I wanted to pop on, even though I don't feel well today and I look horrible today, I wanted to pop on and do an update with verification as to why I constantly tell y'all, get all the information. Don't be emotionally led by your nose. Make sure that you are gauging your response to things so that you are not being manipulated. So I wanted to pop on and do a checkup on the LISIC issue, the Jared Adventures with Purpose, all that crap. So I've not felt well, but the one time that I did try to check for updates on this, I ran across a GoFundMe. Now, if you don't know me, I have an obvious distaste for GoFundMes. I believe that while they're notoriously censored as per specific viewpoints, perspectives, and biases on just by GoFundMe, I think they're often misused as well. And so it's not something that I normally promote or enjoy unless it's like someone that I personally know and I know the issue and I know the validity of the issue. So it's, GoFundMe is one of those things where many people have been prosecuted for using it inappropriately. And it's just, if you are a skeptical person, like I am most of the time, it's very difficult to kind of be pulled in this direction by GoFundMe. So let's talk momentarily. Now, I know that there are a lot of people giving a lot of people grief over this LISIC issue, and I did a very good video the other day about how to look at it without emotions, understand the court issues ahead, understand supervision issues ahead in the club. And I don't know if anyone will really watch all of that, but it was a great conversation with my little sub base about what's going to happen now, what the court needs to know, and the many different ways to look at this. And, I kind of said, don't be led by your emotions, await all the information. And I did that for a reason. And I wanted to come on today, even though I look like crap because I feel like crap today. I wanted to sit here and try to do a few things and just give you some more information as to why it's so important to wait all of the information. Hi, Clara. I'm just now started. So today when I was resting, I rested all day because I've not felt well today. I don't look good today, but we're going to skip that because we got important crap to talk about. So I found a GoFundMe that was created by by Jared LISIC's sister. It was a GoFundMe that she created. She states she created without her cousin's approval or permission, and I guess the cousin gave her crap about it. She set the donation amount at $1 million, she says, because humans are priceless, and priceless wasn't an option. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm not feeling good, so I'm going to be probably a little more curt in my behavior today. But I also got a very bad vibe from this. I got a very bad vibe from, and I'll try to get the statement that was placed on the GoFundMe. She's edited it twice, but I think it was originally placed up on November the 8th. Some people are saying before the interviews were given. Some people are saying not before the interviews were given. I don't care. However, whenever she put it up, it's still tacky as crap. So we're just going to talk about this. Now, while I say, hey, listen, we got to give grace to everybody because everybody in the situation appears to have been a victim at one time in their point in their life as well. And we can't give one victim grace without giving the other victim grace, but then also understand that justice is going to have to be served for his further behaviors if they are found to be valid. We also have to look at the behavior of everyone in this family as a whole, because like I stated, this looks like a generational family issue. It looks like one of those, I said, if you drop the stone down the well, it's likely we'll never hear bottom. That's how deep I believe this story may be. And that's how entrenched. I believe these children are probably raised in a very maladaptive environment. And so while a lot of people are screaming, go get him, I stress that the courts will look at him because of his juvenile status, the fact that he was also victimized. They will kind of look at the parameters he had as a young man at that age, whatever age the court verifies all these things did occur, because we can't go on what's stated right now. We'll have to let the court dig in and verify and confirm all of that. But they'll look at that and make a determination on if they believe he was competent to make decisions and understand right and wrong. Now, I believe he was, because I think even when raised in that, at that age, you kind of have enough of an understanding, But if it started earlier and progressed, there's a lot of issues there that the courts and whoever is doing the evaluations will have to look at and have to understand abuse from several different sides. But so this the sister goes on GoFundMe and places a GoFundMe for $1 million. Now, here's the thing. If she could verify some type of huge debt or mental health treatment that needed to be paid that they did not have insurance for, I would be like, okay, there's a justification. But $1 million, and basically what she says is we're not emotionally at our best. And at one point she even says so that we can get up and go fishing if our heart's desire that day. Now, just because you've been victimized does not mean that you deserve a life apart from the remainder of society. Yes, you have healing to do, and yes, we want you to find positive paths and positive things in life to keep you going. But that doesn't mean you get to go, I'm a victim, therefore I do not have to earn my own way, take care of my own responsibilities. That doesn't happen. Victims still have to function in this world, and they still normally benefit from being a productive member of society. And they very rarely benefit from handouts. In many ways, it trips them up more than it helps them, depending on the circumstances and what is given as aid. So when I read this, I was like, what the crap? If I had been like a family member that knew she was doing that, I'd have been like, don't you dare. Don't you dare. Because the serious aspect of this will completely be cut in half by you then sticking your hand out. Because here's what we know. We know that Mr. Lysick insinuated that this was a family generational issue, that his behaviors in his earlier criminal history were often endorsed and or created by traits he learned in his family. That's like the nicest way I can say that. You are what you stew in, okay? So we can then say, okay, he was not given the best parameters of right and wrong. We understand that from a lot of angles, because he's got previous criminal issues. He's got tax evasion, like real estate issues, and fled the country at a young age. We understand this was not a good life. He did not learn key points about being, a productive and sound member of society. We get that point. Understood. Now, having said that, if we look at now his sister's behavior, whom immediately comes out without her cousin's approval and asks for funds for her cousin's aid. She puts herself in there, insinuates herself a little bit too, but she primarily offsets this on the cousin and states that, they need to focus on themselves and they're not able to work because of their emotions right now. Victims are strong people. Now, a lot of people would not say that. I will. I've worked with them. Victims are strong people, and many of them thrive on whatever normalcy they can find in their life. So I certainly wouldn't tell a victim, oh yeah, abandon all the things that keep you on a routine and stick your hand out. I would not ever say that to a victim. I would say maintain your routine. Keep things going. Stay in what has kept you sound, the last little bit while we handle all these extenuating circumstances. You are going to need your comfort zone. And that comfort zone for many is the routine that they find themselves in that has worked for them for however long they've been holding onto the secret. So I certainly would not say, oh yes, abandon, all your comfort zones and your routine and stick your hand out for money. It just normally does not work well. It normally does not end well, and it's normally not a productive thing for victims to do. So she sets that up, puts it up for $1 million. The writing, the vernacular, the punctuation, the grammar used is atrocious, which a lot of people say, well, you can't judge based on that. No, but I can compare to the other sibling that I've seen communicate. And while she was much less able to write in a compelling and authentic manner, what she was able to do was use a lot of the same power, emotional momentum that Jared used in his emails to kind of gaslight and throw down a power hierarchy to the people that were going to visit this GoFundMe page. I did not appreciate that. So she's basically appealing on the foundation of what what they've been through. But many times victims do not want to address that. They don't want others to address it. They would rather say, I have mental health treatment I have to pay for. I have physical health treatment I have to pay for, or I require an automobile so that I can go to mental health treatment and to court. They have very hard goals because they don't want to base everything emotionally off of their physical abuse. Because victims normally, before anyone else, understand how insanely unhealthy that is. So when she starts using all of the same gaslighting techniques that Jared put in his emails, I'm like, this family either sat down and learned all of this together, or they saw it work for one and they all adopted to it. I don't know which occurred. I don't know. But it's still unhealthy. It's so unhealthy. But you can see some of the same behaviors and some of the same discretionary truths applied to her statement to request funds. It's messed up. I told y'all it's gonna be so messed up by the end of this. There's no right or wrong way to look at this, because there are going to be so many avenues that are going to irritate or pull at your heartstrings. It's just going to be it's a mess. This is going to be a mess. And the biggest mess is that they're going on the internet. But what really ticks me off is then she starts appealing because I'm going to have to get her the best legal counsel available. No. The state of Utah is prosecuting this crime. A state prosecuting attorney will be her attorney. It will be done by the state. You don't need legal counsel. The fact that this person is claiming she's a victim and needing all of this aid but does not understand the first step in the system tells me that before she's educated herself or even taken note of the entire situation, she has just stuck her hand out because she knows it's going to work. Before she evaluated anything, she stuck a hand out, learned behavior, but at this age, you got to think she knows what she's doing. Learned behavior. Now, apparently, the cousin was irate when they found out that she had created this page. And the cousin said, I will not take any financial aid that's from this page. Now, I hope that the cousin said that, because that would say, okay, that victim is handling her victimization, her victimhood, and her victim mentality all at the same time. Good on you, girl. You're doing this the right way. You know what is the primary objective. It is to find justice, heal, and move on. So I hope that's true. Or it could have just been the sister's way of further emotionally contorting the people going to the GoFundMe page. I don't know. It can't be verified. I don't know. But then the sister gave an interview to which she alludes, and I have to be very careful how I word this, she alludes to, at certain points in her life, aiding Mr. Lysick in some of his previous criminal endeavors. And she didn't very much, from the way she stated it, make it feel forced. She made it feel very normal. But now she understands it's not normal. So now she's claiming she's a victim from that. So I'm stuck in this limbo land of, are you a victim, or are you just casually using the situation and all of its components to benefit you regardless of everyone else? I mean, it doesn't leave a good taste in my mouth. We'll just say that. I'm not impressed with anyone that I've met in this family so far. Hi, Denise. I'm not impressed with anyone I've met in this family so far. And I really think that if I were the attorneys, I would be like, get off the internet. Get off the internet, because number one, you're ruining your whole defense. Number two, you're showing sides to your family that are going to turn everyone against you if you don't stop. And number three, it's obvious that you are in a mental, emotional, and perhaps behavioral quagmire where you don't comprehend exactly what's going on and what you're doing and just how tacky it is. Now, I still think that you have to apply grace, because these people are all, you know, they're obviously in a very bad scenario. But here's the thing. This is why I say don't be emotionally led. Because you do not know why people do the things they do. And until you start seeing, you know, enough behavior to get a baseline, you really cannot determine who these people are and what's actually going on. Now, the more and more that they give interviews and go on to live streams, we're starting to get a baseline. It's not a very good one, y'all. It's just not a very good one. Now, I don't discredit any victim that wants to finally speak out about the abuse. That's normal, natural, and normally when they find their voice, they find it in a big way. But most victims are normally compelled to speak about the abuse and the justice they seek, and not about financial issues, or trying to create a character line for you to follow so that you become more embedded and more invested into them. That is normally someone who is an abuser or a manipulator. So for me to see contradicting behaviors that go on different sides of the spectrum, I'm like, red flag, I'm paying attention to you. I'm watching you. Hi, Marty. And so I am very questionable at this time as to the motivation of everyone involved in the story. I'm wondering if they figured out that the internet is big. Me and this stupid Mod Podge lid. I'm wondering if they figured out that the internet is lucrative even when it's not good representation about yourself. Oh, God. Where's my husband when I need him? And I'm wondering if this is just money over morals. It concerns me. And while I can't verify any of that, all I can do is look at the behavior and the indications that they're placing online and try to understand what is going on. And what I'm seeing right now is not people consumed with the past physical violations and justice. I'm seeing people consumed with finances. And that goes for Mr. Lysick as well. We all know that he is very much consumed by finances. He built a huge business. He was so concerned about finances. And it's not a bad thing to be concerned about finances. But he has criminal endeavors in his past where he sought financial safety, and now we see his family, and she obviously was not happy delivering meals, because you could hear her tone in her story. But now we see the family coming out and doing some very similar behaviors related to finances. Now listen, I'm poor. Finances are important. I'm poor as a whippoorwill. But I certainly would not pimp out my circumstances as a victim to become financially secure. That would not be good. That would the motivation behind that would screw up any kind of healing that you could potentially do. I mean, it's just not a good path to go down. But one thing that I am absolutely the most concerned about was her statement of where she aided him in his previous criminal endeavors and did not make it sound as if it was very forced. I'm just saying. So I have absolute questions and concerns, and everyone is in mob mentality on the internet, going after everyone who is not blindly supporting these people. Listen, blind support aids no one. It helps no one. You better always question people. You better always seek out to know the deeper story if it's somebody that you're going to support emotionally or financially. And someone that has the right motivation will actually appreciate you doing so, because they would have anticipated doing the same. So, have questions, have concerns, and ask them, and don't feel bad about asking them. Don't be made to feel like you're an abuser because you want to make sure that you are being protected. And a victim would also understand that. So I have questions. I have questions. And I think that any victim that would do these behaviors should anticipate for people to have questions. Now, everyone probably needs to go and listen to those interviews and stuff. I will try to put some links up. I'm just super exhausted today, and I'm sitting here trying to do something to say I accomplished something today. My body has been, I guess it may be all the blood that I gave yesterday, but I've just been in sleep and recover and recuperate mode today. My body has not done well, and I have just every time I get still, I go to sleep, and I've just not felt well. So I basically just rested all day. And when I have woke up, I've tried to check on a few things or fold a few bits of laundry. I've not accomplished a whole lot today. But I did see this, and I thought, well, this is important enough. I probably need to let y'all know what's going on. And I thought that it'd give me a moment to sit somewhere and actually attempt to do something constructive. And if y'all wonder what I'm doing, I'm covering an old tin in sheet music. Because I'm going to antique them and put Christmas gifts in them. I got these tins for like 30 cents at the thrift store the other day when I had to go to the doctor because I had like 45 minutes I had to waste before my blood work could be taken because the nurses were that far behind. And so I ran to the little thrift store that was right down the road, and they had all these tins, and some of them are very old, but I don't care because I'm going to cover them. And I like to decoupage and stuff, so I thought, hey, that's a win-win. So I grabbed them. And the lady thought I was crazy when I started grabbing tins until I told her what I was doing. And then she was like, oh, let me help you load your bag. She was very sweet. And I left with a lot of tins. And I got some really small, cute ones. Unfortunately, I left that bag in the Jeep, and David took it to work with him today. So I can't show you my extremely cute ones because I left them in the freaking Jeep. But it is what it is. But I wanted to come on here and say, hey, this is why you have to look at all different sides of the story. You have to entertain all different sides of the justice spectrum. You have to look at all different behavioral components, and you just have to in some kind of ways, have a very skeptic perception at first to make sure that you are not being misled or abused in your own right. And I can't sit here and say that is their intent, but I certainly do not have a good gut feeling about what is going on here. And seeing how one brother has criminal issues from his past for seeking financial compensation in very illegal and poor manners, it makes me wonder if this is just not maybe the rest of the family following suit and saying, hey, this internet is really lucrative. By the way, for anyone popping in right now, I'm not monetized and never will be monetized because I think the things that I talk about should not have money attached to them. So that's why I will never be monetized. But it was enough to make me kind of go, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. So I wanted to come on and let you all know what I had found out. Now, could this just be a one-off and just kind of like they don't understand how this is projecting? Absolutely. Which is why I'm trying to kind of remind myself of that and keep myself in a more open mind space. Because normally, while it is probable, normally it's very unlikely. And I mean, that's not, it doesn't make me feel good to say that, but it's just normally in what I have seen in court proceedings and in cases like this, it's just not very likely. So I am being very skeptical. Now, everybody's after Doug Bishop because they're like, oh, those things came to the AWP email and he was part of the team. He should have seen those. Jared said everyone on the team saw those emails. Okay, no, listen, you can't pick and choose what you believe and don't believe out of Jared's story. So if you're discounting his entire basis of, I've tried to heal this and I'm a victim too. If you're ready to discredit all of that, then you can't pick and choose and say, oh, but, I know that he's telling the truth here. No, you don't. So you just have to kind of look at it from every perspective and say all of this may be true, and I have to just be careful how I handle myself and how I view this and what I believe, what I run with, what I share, what I talk about. And that's why I always try to give you all the different perspectives when I come on, because I'm here to give you information. I'm certainly not here to tell you how to feel about it. That's your job. But I try to give you all the information. I think this is just terribly tacky. I think it shows a crack in the facade that may be going on. I think it either shows a family trait or someone just trying to benefit from a heinous ordeal. Either way, it's not a good sign. And I think this is just, it was enlightening for me because, they're disgusted by his behavior, yet they fail to identify, when they also use the same disgusting behavior. And, that just doesn't sit well with me. So I'm not buying it. Now, it's up to you if you buy it or not. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I just don't, it doesn't feel right for me. So I am being a little more reserved when it comes to who I believe and what I believe. I certainly hope that Doug was telling truth and that he did not know about the emails. It's certainly plausible to think that Jared would state that to try to alleviate the pressure on himself and kind of indicate that others were also aware and accepting, and, people that are in that scenario try to do that. They justify in numbers. They say, oh, well, more people than me know about it and they're okay with it, so you need to be okay with it. That's a game played a lot. Because people in numbers, the groups normally tend to win, right? So if you don't have a group, what do you want to do? You make it look like you have a group. So it's very plausible that none of the other teams saw these emails, and by their behavior currently, it would indicate, if they're willing to leave their work on just an absolute moment's notice, it's very believable that they did not know what was going on. So, I know it's going to go through here tomorrow night and Saturday, and let me tell you, I'm not looking forward to it. And the kids have their anniversary trip this weekend, so I'm dog sitting my granddog, Chaytak. And so it's like, man, the first weekend they ever try to travel with the baby, and number one, half of Rockwood Mountain's on fire, and they've got to go through there. But number two, it's going to be, the first true dip, and they're going to be up in the hills traveling where it could get really nasty. So I'm not happy about it either. But anyway, that's me being a grandma. Oh, I've got glue all over my hands now. But anyway, I just think this is terribly tacky. I think it shows a mentality that may be kind of maintained through the family that, hey, if you can benefit. And that would, if it goes to finances and it goes to physical inappropriateness in the family, it will extend to a lot of other abuses outside of the family. Because if you can hurt those closest to you, you bet your sweet bippy you can hurt those farthest from you. So I am just kind of trying to look at this and go, the picture's coming into focus, but there's a lot more puzzle pieces before we have the whole picture. But I think it's important for us to kind of, if they're going to place it all over the internet, to follow along and kind of digest this and look at all the indicators. Now, this doesn't change how I feel. I still think justice needs to be served, and victims need to tell their stories, and due process needs to go through. So it doesn't change any of my feelings on that, but it certainly makes me question the motivation behind some of the family members and the way in which the family, while they understand apparently what abuse is, the way that they may also not understand what abuse is. Because, I mean, if you just really want to get down to the nitty gritty, doing this to people is also abuse. So it's just one of those scenarios where you kind of have to go, I have to look at all of it, and I have to hang it above my head for a later date when hopefully it will make sense, because I'm just going to tell you, these stories never really make sense at the beginning, and it normally they never truly make a whole lot of sense, but normally you can find the pattern of behavior and kind of understand the storyline and the event storyline, at least after court, But, this is just not a good indicator of potentially what they're capable of. And for me, that's a big deal because, people's capabilities emotionally, physically, mentally, societally, that's a big thing, because that affects who you are within society, how you affect others, and kind of the person that you truly are. And, if you bring positivity or negativity to the world. And I'm big on how you treat others is kind of what you deserve. And I'm big on that. So this has really kind of put some grit in my craw, and I'm not pleased with what I'm seeing. So, but y'all need to go for yourselves and listen to the sister's interviews that she's done online. I really think they need to stop speaking online, but the sister's interviews that she did online and the GoFundMe page, and she's edited it twice, but you can go back and read and get the vibe of what she's saying. And, she uses terms like my bad, and very juvenile grammar and expressions, which makes me think, okay, that's pretty standard for families that have a lot of abuse. There normally is some behavioral and age inconsistencies, because maturation takes on a whole new meaning when you are an abuse victim, and it's, difficult on a good day. So, while I was willing to overlook some of that, by the time we got to her begging for money and saying it was just so they could go fishing if they got up and that's what their heart desired. That's where I went, no, no. I can't go down that road. I can't condone that behavior, and I can't go down that road. And I don't think anyone that is a true victim would want the people that are supporting them to be used in that manner. Most victims, because of how they have been mistreated, are very, very careful about the way that they treat others. And, because once you notice a wrong being done to you, the last thing most people do is try to go out and perpetuate that wrong, because you kind of become aware. And so you don't want, your awareness, you don't want to kind of become what is your own monster. And so when you bring stuff out socially like that, normally when you bring awareness, you're very hyper aware about your own behavior as well. And you also have normally a team of people around you trying to help you also remain aware and say, hey, you're sliding south on this. And, it's very important to have those people in your world. Maybe this family does not have that. Maybe they've never had that. Maybe none of these siblings have that ability. But, that's not society's fault. And I don't think that the good people that are out there with good hearts wanting to help them should be milked like a Guernsey or an Irishshire because they have sympathetic hearts. And it's not that It's not that I don't want anyone to have money. It's just that, if we're looking at repeated behaviors by this family, we see that finances are a huge source of justification for behavior. And so we have to very carefully look at how they use finances. That's, from this point on, because we know that finances have been a very big behavioral standpoint for them for a lot of other issues. So we know that Jared was at some level able to justify some really criminal behavior to become financially solvent. Even though he was caught, he was able to justify it to become financially solvent. So we have to, then identify, hey, if you learn one behavior from somebody, you can very well learn another behavior from somebody. And we all have to be careful about what they're seeking, how they're seeking it, and the words they use. And we also know that, a lot of familial and generational abuse is very ingrained. And they may not understand what they're stating, but it's still wrong. So there's a lot of ways to look at this. I'm just very skeptical of the request for money, the amount she requested, how she requested it, and some of her word choices and justifications for requesting the money. It just did not sound good to me. And, I'm allowed to feel that way. Now, there's a guy that's getting a lot of grief. His name is Down Under Dan, and he is like me. He's got a legal background and a counseling background, and he's very openly saying that some of this does not feel right. Well, good on him. He's allowed to have his, whatever perception he wants to have about this. I say good on him, and he's getting attacked. And I'm like, people, okay, you're stating it's wrong to victimize people, but when someone has a different mindset, you're going to victimize them? Okay, people, be aware. Be aware about your behavior, because, stating you're against it, but then going doing the exact behaviors. I mean, victimization is victimization. The different layers are that's just court documentation and punishment parameters. Victimization is victimization. So for these people that are then going and attacking people that have different perceptions and different thought processes, check yourself. Everybody's allowed to look at this the way that they need to look at it. It's just one of those things where people get to make their own judgment calls. Unless you're in the court, you can sit out here and side jockey this thing till the cows come home. So all these people trying to chase people on the internet and saying, you're wrong, and now you're canceled. And it's just like, do you not understand that behavior? Do you not see what you're doing? Do you not also understand that you're now trying to go after someone and take away their rights? You're trying to victimize someone in another way. You're trying to justify your own hate, through a moral code that is not shared. Morality is not something that we all share, sadly. We would all get along a lot better if we did. But you can't justify behavior like that. And, it's just like, people, be aware of yourself. Be aware of, if you say you're against something and you attack people for behavior, then don't go exhibit the same behavior yourself. I'm just always flabbergasted at how people milk circumstances and try to set themselves up as the end all be all in these scenarios. And I'm like, okay, like I sit here and I say, there's 5,000 ways to look at this. I may not be right. The courts will have to go through this. We will have to listen to a lot of other ways to view this. And let's all kind of chill until we get more information. But if you go on and just because someone is feeling a certain way about this event and you attack them, discredit them completely as a person and try to ruin their YouTube page or their emotional status for the day, then you yourself are victimizing people based on a perception filter or a moral code, which we don't have to share in this world. So watch your P's and Q's, people. you know, what you don't want others to be, you can't then become yourself and justify. And so I tell everybody to be super careful. And that's why I sit here and I tell you my gut feeling, and I also tell you I could be wrong, and I tell you to go find out for yourself. But I'm certainly not going to go and cancel anyone. Even Mr. Lysick, as I've said, this has to go to court. Per our nation and its laws, he is innocent right now, and it has to go to court. And we can't run on pure hate. And we can't ask people to run on pure hate with us. That's just not necessary. It's not how we function in this nation. It's not necessary. So I'm more than willing to wait on the rest of the information and have my talks and discussions, but withhold final judgment until the court makes their decision, because I'm confident that the court will get to the bottom of this. As convoluted as I think it's going to be, I'm sure that they will find a spot to where they feel they have done a significant investigation and made a good finding. I hope if the family truly is going through this much distress and disorder, that they use this scenario to get the help they need. And I hope that maybe some of the family members' behaviors help them really identify how toxic possibly and potentially if their family is, and makes them aware of the changes they need to make in order to be happier, healthier people. But let me tell you what, it doesn't always happen. And sadly, in the day of the internet age, a lot of people place things on the internet that should never be placed there, don't understand how it's going to impact their world, and then are terribly sorry once they find out. So I don't think this was a good move by the woman who did this, and I don't think it was an appropriate behavior, and I don't think it's going to benefit a victim. And obviously it didn't, because it made the victim mad that she did a GoFundMe page. But I don't know. I just, there's an opportunity here and an option for a lot of growth. And so I truly want them to see this as a growth period and not as a milking period for infamy, and everything that comes with it. But that's why I tell everybody, don't be led by the nose. And yes, everybody that jumped on the allegations that did really nasty videos the other day, I've actually had a couple of people tell me, why was I so nice? I wasn't nice. I was just aware in how I was making my determinations and understanding that an emotional response was not really going to benefit anyone, least of all me. And that it's best to save emotions for when you have verified findings. But I had a lot of people kind of send me, I love ghost messages when they leave a comment and then they delete it, but it still shows up on your YouTube studio. That is just so profoundly tacky for people to use, but they use it. So I've gotten several ghost messages of how horrible I was to give him any option of innocence. I didn't give him an option of innocence. I just said we don't know truly what's going on. But I got a lot of hate. Well, some of the people that sent me hate are now doing big videos on how tacky it was for her to do this. And does this potentially mean that the story is false? Well, I'm not going to make those huge emotional swings with you, because I've done said we don't know that. But it is funny to see other people, that were willing to attack me because I wasn't going to immediately condemn a man. Now they're like, let me immediately condemn this other person. And I'm like, hey, check yourself. So I just, I don't get really riled about stuff. And I know that justice is it's a path, and it's sometimes a convoluted and winding path. And we're just going to have to be patient. And there's no way to speed this up. There's no way to feel any better about it while it's going on. It is just one of those things that we're just going to have to wait through. And hopefully, society will learn a lot from this, and a lot of families won't repeat these things, because a lot of people will become aware of the pain that it causes people and they will make better choices in their life. That is my hope. That is my absolute hope. But it doesn't mean it will happen that way. So that's why I tell you don't be emotionally led. So, but a GoFundMe, I think, is just one of those things that just kind of ruins society, because, you know, helping people is great, and getting help when you need help is great. And, you know, we should always strive to help those that are not as fortunate or those going through hard times. But when certain people have basically financed their entire existences off of GoFundMe, it just makes me have a lot of questions about the platform. And especially when, you know, they allow certain people to have stories and platforms to request money, and other people not. I have a lot of questions about GoFundMe and the motivation behind it anyway. But I don't know. I just have a very weird vibe about the use or misuse, as you may see it, of this platform, and the motivation and the way that the aid was requested. That is probably what makes me the most leery, is the way that she went about asking in such a casual, nonchalant, this is normal everyday speech. And by the way, I'm going to throw in some slang, and then I'm going to gaslight you, and then I'm going to justify some of my own behaviors. And then I'm going to emotionally pull you in for a few things. And it was just like, you know, I saw some behaviors that, you know, apparently are wrong when Jared does them, but are okay when they do them. And I'm sitting there going, that's not how this goes. If it's wrong, it's wrong. And you deal with it and go on. So be very careful. In other news in my world, David is going to be, if you're a local person, David is going to be selling some stuff at some local boutiques. So some of the gnomes and some of his furs are going to be available at some local boutiques. He's also going to be kind of showcased by a shop called Pin Me Up. It's like a salon, nail shop, tattoo parlor, body piercing. I mean, they do kind of everything. And they are wanting to showcase some of the different artwork and fur and kind of the old skills. And I thought that was really neat, because that's not normally like a shop you would kind of throw in together with our background and stuff. And I thought that was super neat and super kind and gracious. And so he will be having some stuff go into their shop for display and sale. And I really thought it was sweet and touching for them to reach out and be like, hey, we really enjoy this, and we really want to celebrate, you know, the skill set that he has. And I just thought that was great, because, you know, obviously I think my husband is amazingly talented and, you know, an old soul for keeping this old way alive. But it's nice when he gets external validation because, you know, a lot of times with this line of creativity, you mostly just get hate. So it's nice to get some positive feedback and to see some people embrace what he does and the hard work that he puts into it. And it's nice to see people dote on him, because, you know, my husband doesn't ask for anything. And so it's nice to see him get something in return, even though, you know, he's the quietest man that will not toot his own horn. So it's nice to see him rewarded for what he does. And I've had the reindeer that I've made. I made 4 or 5. I only have 2 left. And I think they're probably fixing to be gone, because I had another email. David had another contact about them. So I think probably all of the reindeer are fixing to be gone. I did do another antler order. So I will make some more, depending on how much fur David has available for me to use. It just depends on, you know, what we have available to put toward that. And so I think I ordered 6 more set of antlers because they're kind of pricey. I think I ordered 6 more set of antlers of the big ones so I can make the big reindeer. So I am at least going to make 6 more of the reindeer, and that will probably be all because they take quite a bit of fur, and because they take quite a bit of fur, they have to kind of have a bigger price tag. And I think David is really wanting to gear toward the smaller price tags for the people at this vendor event. So I think that's going to be all the, I've sat here and broke a sweat doing crafts. I think that's going to be all the reindeer that is made. Oh gosh, I'm just like burning up right now, y'all. I'm sweating. And I think they just took way too much blood for me yesterday because I have just not felt good since they did the blood work. And let me tell you, when I say I volunteered a lot, I volunteered a lot. Okay, so I've got this entire tin Mod Podged. And I've got Mod Podge all over my hands. People are crazy. Music, that is a great point. If you have money to throw away, look into these children's hospitals and these children cancer funds and place it somewhere where, you know, these kids that need medical treatment, you know, St. Jude's and stuff like that, are going to get medical treatment. And they get free medical treatment, and the family gets free hotels and places to stay while seeking the treatment with their child. Ronald McDonald House will actually banish people for certain reasons. And it's not really medical reasons. It's normally like social reasons. So I always say, if you can go anywhere before there, go, unless you're just for some reason driven to give to them because of an experience you've had. I've not seen a lot of positive behavior from them, but I've also not seen all behavior from them. So it's possible that they have had good behavior. But yeah, give it to, you know, a medical event for a child, a surgical need for a child, a cancer treatment program for children. You know, because that is a huge issue that is not nearly financially resourced enough. And I understand that from a different perspective, because my reflex sympathetic dystrophy is not well funded, not well researched, because it's not well funded. And because of that, it's not well known. And so when I have to seek treatment, sometimes, even though I'm basically equivalent to MS or even worse, where they would have hospitalized and helped the MS patient, they won't hospitalize and aid me because the research is not there, the funding isn't there, and they're not qualified and educated about my disorder to understand I need help. So yes, medical is always a place, especially with children, to put any excess funding that you have. We have a young lady in our community that goes to St. Jude's a lot. She was born with only half of a left leg and had required a lot of procedures to prepare her for the apparatus. They've suited her with various apparatuses as she's grown, because as she grows, the leg has to become longer and longer and longer. The family actually wanted to buy a pickup truck that we had years ago. And like we undercut the Blue Book value by like $3,000 to sell it to them. I mean, we was paid for, and, you know, yeah, we could have used the extra money, but we thought the family could have used that leniency because, you know, they had to go way up into Kentucky to the nearest, I think it was Shriners at that time, hospital. And so we severely undercut the price to sell it to them because we knew that they had to deal with something we didn't have to deal with. And so we sold our truck super, super cheap. And I'm also known the mother since high school. So that's a soft spot for me because this young lady has had to have so much medical intervention, and they have struggled so much. And it's hard to watch them go through it. And so the community is really good when it's time for the trips and stuff. You know, even though Shriners is great, you know, getting there and staying there during the surgical procedures is very taxing. And so our community is great to just drop a bucket and fill it up. So it's nice to see that in these small communities. It's nice to see us come together. So I always feel really positive about my little tiny neck of the woods when we do things like that. So, but you have to, I don't know. I think if you go through life and you don't make concessions for the needs of others, then what kind of human being are you? And that's why I think that even these people that are in possibly a potential victim standpoint, they still need to have a healthy, we're getting a lot of support, we're getting a lot of encouragement, we're getting a lot, and there's a lot of people doing a lot of bad things too also, but we need to be aware and not over request, because there are people trying to aid this family, financially already. And I just felt the way that she went about this was very tacky. It was inappropriate. The word use and the motive behind the grammar and vernacular choice, it just read weird for me. And it read conceited, condescending, manipulative, gaslighting, and just kind of emotionally all over the place, but very, very unaware of the hearts and minds that have poured out to them over the last week or so. So I was just struck in an odd way. So I will try to put links up, but I mean, if you Google it, you can go find it. But you should go and read the GoFundMe for yourself. You should go and watch the sisters' interviews on YouTube yourself. I mean, I don't think they need to be talking on the internet, but if they're going to, you might as well make yourself aware. And I think that will give you a better understanding and you can make your own determination. But I will state that I think this is just a big mess. I think the whole family is a big mess by the sounds of it. And while I'm hoping that they learn some stuff and improve themselves through the course of this, it is very obvious that this is not just a one person in the family has a problem issue. It's a very much generational family-wide deficit. And so for that reason, roll up your britches because it's going to get deep and we're going to be wading through a lot and it's not going to be pleasant. And probably the more we know, the less we will wish we had ever paid attention to this, to be quite honest. But it is going to hold some very key learning lessons for victims of this type of abuse, especially in a generational component. So if you have the heart and the stomach for it, hang on and watch it. But like I've said before, don't be emotionally led. Remain skeptical, stand back and look at the whole picture, await the court because the court will have a lot of evaluations and discovery that will come out that will give us an insight that we could not have even, fathomed, and then make an educated and informed decision on how you feel about it then. But while I am absorbing all the information, I just have to say this hit me in a not pleasant way. And while I'm, preaching to the choir about hang on till the last minute, listen to all the information, I will say that this was not anything that I felt positive about. I try to be honest. I do not feel positive about it. And so I'm sticking it in the back of my head and I'm trying to focus purely on the justice component and awaiting the court to look at this from a psychological and generational standpoint so that we get more information about the actual events of the abuse and how that people can learn from that and stop or undo, stop or prevent future abuse in other families. But, we'll learn a lot more than that. But I'm trying to look at the hardcore, really main issues that I know that I can pull a lot of wisdom from. But, these little social indicators are also enlightening. So go do your own information, go do your own deep dive, go look at that. I will try, if I can remember, if I get still and fall asleep again, my body's just in a slump today. If I get still and fall asleep again, I can't guarantee I will remember to do that. I've got Mod Podge all over my hands. But I will try to remember to upload those links. But it's important to inform yourself. If you're going to follow the story, try to be well informed. But just be a sponge and soak it all up. But don't do your big squeeze to make a determination till the very end. Because we're going to have a lot more kiss your butt curves in this story. I guarantee it. It's going to be rough, y'all. It's going to be rough. But go and do your own deep dive. Look into everything that's up there and make your own determination. I probably am going to kind of sit and stew and see what else comes out over the next several days. And unless something big like this occurs, I won't do another update. I just thought this was a window into a different part of the abuse story. And so I wanted you all to have this view if you wanted it. It doesn't mean you have to go and investigate it, but if you want to, now you know it's there and you can go look into it. I'm going to go and attempt to fold the rest of my laundry. And I'm going to try to rest and nibble a little bit. And I've just not had a good day. I'm tired, but I also know, I think mentally, I know that I've got to rest for tomorrow and Saturday because I'm going to have Che, my grand dog. I'm going to have Che Tack with me for the weekend. And so maybe my body is just like, rest woman, because we're going to be busy this weekend. He's not really a problem. He's just an 80-pound dog. And I tried to like go out and watch him when he potties and let him run a little bit. So I don't know, I'm a little bit more aware and focused, and it takes a little bit more out of me. But he's not a problem. He's a sweet, he's well behaved and he's sweet. And I'll try to give you some updates while I have him this weekend because he's terribly funny as well. The facial expressions alone with Che are just great. And he is absolutely smitten with me. He is, ever since he was tiny and they got him when he was weaned, I've called him Chonko Chonko Che, and he just melts. So I'm looking forward to having some time with him, and I'm looking forward to giving the kids a weekend out that they don't have like a boarding bill and stuff. So I'm trying to help out. But today I'm tired, but I also gave like a gallon of blood yesterday. So that's probably why I'm tired. I'm going to go eat some more. David got me some chicken casserole today. He told me not to cook, and he got me some chicken casserole. I'm going to go eat me some chicken casserole and rest and just kind of be tonight. I'm not going to push it. I've got this tin drying. I will put up pictures when it's dried to show you where it is when it's dried. After this dries, I may go back with some antiquing wax or some watered down brown paint and antique it a little bit depending on what it looks like. I'm going to use these tins to give Christmas gifts in. Because then people get a tin and a gift. And these tins are very cute, especially in Appalachia where everybody goes to church. Everybody loves their song hymnals. And so this will be a good memory present for the people close to me and my family. So that's my motivation with these tins. I've got 50,000. I think I bought 10 or 12. At least. It's bad. But I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be trying to do a big rag quilt cut Christmas tree, and then I've got 2 lamp shades to do some patchwork quilt shades on, and I'm going to try to do some of that this weekend depending on how much I can do with the big dog here. And next week I'm taking a break from the gnomes until next week because y'all, I'm just gnomed out. And then I will go back. I've got 2 more boxes that David has cut of the beaver logs, the beaver chew logs, the willow logs. And next week I will start on those again. Y'all, the gnomes. If I could get my craft room and line them up behind me on the shelves you could see, I would have a whole little society of gnomes. And if I ever get finally in there, y'all will see that. But anyway, that's what's going on in my world. Y'all have a good night. Try to stay positive, even though we're all getting all this information on the story that's got us kind of perplexed and vexed. Try not to be emotionally driven or pulled in any direction. Just absorb the information and hold it for later. It's the best way to be. I'm going to go eat dinner and rest and recoup some more. Y'all have a good night, and I'll most likely see you tomorrow. Bye, guys. You know when I end the strings, don't you? You come out just a